winding down this 3-game series, and the Reds are looking for the sweep over the National League Central Division champions, leading up to the final series over the year this weekend with the Pirates coming in starting tomorrow night. Hi again, everybody. Alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. A little bit of fireworks here last night on the field and in the clubhouse after the ball game. And it started with John Smoltz, the Cardinals starter and loser last night. Got very upset when Drew Stubbs, after the Reds took that lead, stealing second base in the third inning, up 6-0.
Well, you know, it's funny that when you're on the flip side and you're winning those ball games, nobody seems to care. But yet, when you're the one that's getting beat, and it's at the end of the season, and you don't think a team that like the Reds should be beating you, then there's a lot of excuses that are being made. My issue is, up until the fifth inning, you do whatever you want in order to get the edge on the other team. We've seen in this ballpark, Albert Pujols hit a ball out of the ballpark that scored 4 runs in automatic fashion. As you see John Smoltz there, awfully upset about the baseballs, awfully upset about everything.
Turns out the issue was about the baseball. Smoltz felt they were too slick. We caught up with him after the game last night.
It's the worst baseballs I've ever pitched with in my life. Yeah. And the other guy's pitching with him too, so he did a nice job. But I walked 3 guys all year, and I walked 5 today. I mean, it's part of the battle. I went out there and battled, but I felt helpless and didn't make pitches when, you know, I normally make pitches in those situations, and I just had no feel for the baseball, and that's about the worst thing you can have as a pitcher when you're trying to make and rely on all your pitches.
Well, to further ignite this whole situation, after the game last night, the longtime Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan, when asked why was Bronson Arroyo so effective where Smoltz was not, he accused the Reds right-hander of having pine tar inside of his cap.
Now, to me, something's got to be done about that. Unless you can absolutely prove that that happened, then something's got to be done. Either the commissioner steps in and says, hey, you can't just say somebody cheated without proof, because no umpire proved that he was cheating.
And for the record, Julian Tavares, while pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals 3 years ago, was suspended for 8 games having pine tar inside of his hat. Bronson Arroyo will answer those charges from Dave Duncan when we come back. Reds and the Cardinals are right around the corner. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio.
informed, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Reds fan hoping for a sweep here today. The Reds have outscored the Cardinals 13-3 in the first 2 games of this series. Our chief pitching matchup has Kip Wells against the Cardinal ace, Chris Carpenter.
Well, with Corky Miller behind the plate for Kip Wells, hopefully the signs will be what they have been in the past when Miller's been back there. He has made every pitcher much, much better. And on a day like today, when you face a Cy Young candidate as in Chris Carpenter, you better have all your signs pointing your way.
Kip Wells, since coming over from the Nationals organization, has thrown the ball very, very well. You saw his numbers as a starter in the Reds rotation.
He really has, Tom. I think a lot of it has to do with rebuilding his confidence. I think part of it is the guy he's got behind the plate today in Corky Miller. I think there's a lot of things that go into making Kip Wells a better pitcher. Number one is throwing his sinker for a strike and then building off of that. And I think that's one of the things that Miller has done and the other Reds catchers that have caught him in the ball games have done. But the big thing for Kip Wells is confidence. And if he's got that and he's down in the zone, he'll be all right.
Let's take a look at the Cardinals starting lineup today, brought to you by U.S. Bank. Skip Schumacher will lead off at second base. Colby Rasmussen center with Matt Holliday in left. No Albert Pujols today. Troy Gloss is down at third. Or I beg your pardon, there was a late change to the Cardinal batting order, and I guess Pujols is in it. Well, my lineup is a mess. I'll give you the rest. Holliday and Keel, Gloss, Molina, Ryan, and Carpenter. So here we go. Leading things off is Schumacher at strike one on the outside corner, and this game is underway. Schumacher at 303, 4 home runs and 35 runs batted in. Well, the lineup I had originally did not have Pujols in there. They had young Mr. Freeze playing first base, but apparently it changed a little bit later on, and Albert is in there. That's not good news for anybody on the mound.
It's not good news for anybody on the Reds. God, crushes us. But the big key is the guys in front of him. If Albert hits 4 single shot home runs, well, so be it. You got to keep the guys off the plate in front of him.
2-1 the count on Schumacher, leading off the ball game on what has turned into just a beautiful day here in Cincinnati. It was a very odd day. Early in this morning, many of you may be out on the eastern part of town, northern part of town. It was bright and sunny. Beautiful day. You come downtown, it's foggy, very cold. And in about the last 45 minutes, the sun has broken through, and still temperatures on the chilly side, not even 60 degrees so far.
But at least it's burned off some of that fog.
Yes.
Well, the last 2 pitches that you've seen Kip Wells make are really the pitches that have turned his season around. Running that sinker away from the left-handers and being able to throw that slider in a spot where you get a swing and miss, and he hasn't gotten too many of those in years past.
Hard hit ball, but right at Brandon Phillips. 1 away. Take a look at the Reds defensively. A number of changes from last night, with the exception of first, second, third, center, and right. Gomes is in there in left field. Drew Sutton getting the start at short. And Corky Miller starts at first base, or behind the plate. One away for Colby Rasmus, a .255 batter, 16 home runs, 51 runs batted in.
Between these 2 guys, Schumacher and Rasmus, last night, they only got on base 1 time. That's the key to beating the Cardinals.
And the one time they got on is when Schumacher doubled against Bronson Arroyo leading off the 4th inning. And what did he do?
Ended up scoring.
He scored it on a base hit by Albert Pujols. 1-1 to Rasmus. Cardinals clinch a National League Central over the weekend, but they are really limping to the finish line. They have lost 11 of their last 17, and perhaps that's why there were a few barbs back and forth after the game last night. Not so much from John Smoltz. I mean, he was just unhappy about the baseballs, but
I think
certainly the comments made by Dave Duncan.
Yeah, he's unhappy about his start, unhappy about getting hit, and you put blame wherever you can. You just don't want to look out deep down into yourself and know that you're just not throwing the ball like you used to.
But I know you believe that that is a very serious charge. It was really thrown out there by Dave Duncan.
I'm not kidding, Tom. If I'm on the mound and I'm Bronson Arroyo and the opposite team, regardless of where we are in the season, accuses me of cheating, we're going to have a problem, not on the field but in the courtroom. You just can't throw words like that out there.
Boy, that looked like a pretty good pitch right there.
Good.
3-2 on Rasmus.
Trying to get this ball to come back. Starts it underneath his hands, trying to run it back to the mitt. And the only thing I can think is that he called it down. Right down the middle.
Gone swinging Rasmus, and there are 2 away in the Cardinals' first inning when Mr. Pujols coming up.
Almost the same exact pitch here, but Wells takes just a tad off of it. Instead of it being 91 miles an hour, this pitch is at 88. And you can just see the sink in that baseball. It's late and it's straight down.
You know, you hate to draw parallels about what Dave Duncan said after the game last night, and I had a chance to go visit with Rick Hubble, the Hall of Fame writer from the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, who wrote the article in the St. Louis paper this morning, to ask him about the tone of the conversation.
I did too.
And, you know, how all that went. Well, the bottom line is exactly what you just said. Dave Duncan has accused a member of another team of cheating.
And that's basically what it boils down to.
And this is coming from a regime. And I have always been a very much an admirer of the work that Duncan has done, and certainly the body of work that Tony La Russa has done. But it is a group that has been very, very, very vehement in defending Mark McGwire.
Exactly.
And all the years that McGwire played in St. Louis. And certainly warning so many out there who have accused McGwire of cheating, and whether he did or he didn't. But certainly saying all along that unless you have proof and know that he was cheating, therefore you cannot say that he was a cheater. And I don't know whether he did or he didn't. But the point being is here, rather loosely, you have a member of that quote-unquote regime that's accusing somebody else of cheating.
Well, there are things in this day and age that you just cannot say. We all know what they are. And without proof, you can't say that this guy stole this, or this guy is cheating, or this guy shot that person, or this person, or this guy said this, that, or the other. In this type of terminology, now that's a lot of hypothetical, but the bottom line is you can't accuse a professional athlete of cheating at his profession on the field of play without proof. You cannot do it.
1-2 on Albert Pujols, and a fastball is inside, even a count.
And this will end up somewhere. It'll either be in the Players Association, it'll be through the commissioner's office, but something will have to be done.
We're going to give you Bronson Arroyo's response to all of this during the top of the second inning, so stick around for that. 2-2 on Albert Pujols. Pulled foul. Look out down there.
And the sad part about the whole thing, Tom, is Bronson Arroyo has turned his whole year around. I mean, he has just pitched phenomenal in the second half. And just that statement that was made by their pitching coach of the Cardinals really cast a cloud on Bronson now, and that's totally unacceptable.
I mean, you're talking about a man in Arroyo that when that list of players that tested positive for any kind of drugs that may have been on the banned substance list, and he came out and said, hey, I'm probably one of those guys. I did this. Nobody could be more upfront without even being proven guilty of anything than Bronson Arroyo.
Why didn't he accuse Massett? He came in and struck out the guys to end the threat they had. I didn't hear anything about Massett. He didn't have any problem with the ball.
And again, everybody can have a bad day. Perhaps Dave Duncan went to bed last night, been around for a long time, has carried himself as a true professional for a long time as a player, is regarded as the best at his profession in all of Major League Baseball. Now, he might have put his head down last night and said, geez, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I don't know.
Well, if that's the case, he owes Arroyo an apology. Publicly.
2-2 on Albert Pujols. Slow roller down to third. That is a foul ball.
I mean, to accuse a pitcher of doing something like that would be like saying Albert is corking his bat, or Joey Votto is corking his bat, or something to that like, and that's why he's hitting so many home runs. You just don't do that. You can't do it.
An extended at bat here for Albert Pujols. Still 2-2 with 2 down and nobody on. Cardinals batting in the first inning. And Wells trying to put him away. Still trying. Wells thought that may have caught the inside corner.
He was headed to the dugout. You're not going to get too many borderline pitches on Albert Pujols.
Ground ball left side, backhanded by Sutton, and his throw is snatched out of the dirt by Votto to win the inning. Wells retires his side in order. The Reds are coming to bat. The starting lineup presented by U.S. Bank. Bruce Stubbs in center, Bruce Sutton at short, Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips a cleanup hitter with Scott Rowland down at third, and Jay Bruce is in right field. The latter third of Johnny Gomes, Corky Miller, and Kip Wells. We talked about Joey Votto setting the Reds franchise record for doubles in the month of September. Of course, today we turn the calendar to October.
Yes, we do.
And the Cardinals on day number 1 of this month have their #1 starter on the mound.
Yes, they do. And he works quick. He's throwing strikes. And if you're up there to take, you're probably going to be out in a hurry, because he is an animal on the mound. And in order to beat this guy, you've got to disrupt his rhythm, step out, call timeout, start to step in, and then step back out. Anything that you can do to throw the rhythm off of Carpenter, because when he gets on the mound, he is locked in.
Fastball away, 2-2 the count on Drew Stubbs. He nearly clubbed a home run on the game's first pitch here last night. He hit 2 routine ground balls during the course of the game that he turned into infield hits. They're not going to fool around today. Gloss going to get rid of that thing in a hurry.
Yes, he did.
The Cardinals defensively brought to you by Ford. Rasmussen center flanked by Holliday and Rick Ankiel. Troy Gloss, Brendan Ryan, Skip Schumacher, and Albert Pujols third to first, a battery of Carpenter. And the first time we've seen Yadier Molina in this series. He injured his knee on Saturday night in Denver and had not played since until today.
And you've got to believe that La Russa is trying to figure out what it is that Gloss has left, if anything, to help them in the postseason.
I mean, that certainly is a big bat to come off your
really,
bench. I mean, we know
really
DeRosa is going to be down there at third, but Gloss is a guy that can win a game for you with a long one late.
I think that's part of him coming in late in the ball game last night in a pinch hit opportunity, and now him playing today in order to get consecutive at bats to try to see what he can do.
Those are all the little things that managers have to think about. You know, a team might clinch and you'll say, well, what do they have to play for? And perhaps to win their division. Obviously there's nothing to play for, but there are a lot of things that a manager and a coaching staff and a general manager have to try and do as they're strike 3 to Sutton when they're compiling their postseason roster, especially when you have guys that have been hurt a lot during the year, or in Gloss's case, nearly the entire season.
And you're still playing for home field advantage. And you know that if you've ever been in Busch Stadium in St. Louis, you know that when the Cardinals play at home, it is so loud and so many fans that are pulling for the Cardinals. It's a tough game to go in and win there. I'll just say that, if you're the opposition.
Well, the way it's shaping up right now as Joey Votto digs in and looks at ball 1. After today, everybody in baseball has 3 games left in this season. And with the 2 losses here in Cincinnati, coupled with 2 wins by the Phillies, the Cardinals are 2.5 games behind the Dodgers for the best record, but they're 2 games behind the Phillies for the next best record.
Oh, wow. So they're in third then.
Out of 3.
Right. So the only team that they're ahead of would be the wild card.
And what all that would mean for those of you not familiar with the system, with a wild card plumbing out of the National League West. And right now that's the home of a division leader with the best record in the league. You can't play a team in your own division in the first round of the playoffs. So you play the team with the next best record. Colorado right now would play Philadelphia. The Cardinals would not have home field advantage in a series against the Dodgers.
Correct. The only team that they would have home field advantage against would be the Rockies, and that would be in the second round in the league championship series.
But the Dodgers just cannot win a game. National League West standings brought to you by Honda. They've lost 4 in a row and still have not officially clinched the National League's Western Division. Broken bat roller down to Pujols, and the Reds are gone in order against Chris Carpenter in the first. End of 1, no score. Told you, promised you Bronson Arroyo's response to the accusations made by Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan that he had pine tar on his hat. Here it is.
Like I said, I really don't have a whole lot of comments about it. I mean, you know, I don't know Dave Duncan, and I mean, he thought that because my hat, I'm assuming, I figured out now that my hat, because it has so much black stuff on it, he assumed I was using pine tar. But, you know, I mean, this is basically that's a year's worth of buildup of the mud that they put on the balls. That's exactly, you go to most stadiums, they put so much of the black mud, which is what is used to rub up on baseballs, that there's so much excess, it comes out all over your hands constantly for the whole game. And so that's the 6 months I've been using this exact same hat. It builds up. So, I mean, it might look like pine tar, but it's not. And so here at our park, we purposely don't rub the balls up quite as much. I don't like the powder all over the balls. So, you know, nobody else has ever complained in the game that I've pitched in this entire season. So, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. I mean, I've been to Yankee Stadium in a September and October day when it's freezing cold and there's no humidity in the air, and the balls they throw to me, I felt like they dunked them in a bucket of baby powder. I mean, I had no grip at all. But I can't stop the game and tell them to change the balls. I mean, you just got to find a way to try to deal with it.
Well, the best thing he said was you got to find a way to deal with it. And there was one pitcher in the ball game that found a way to deal with it, and there was another one that did not. And you know, when you lose and it's frustrating and things are not going your way, and this is not a good time for John Smoltz. I mean, let's be honest. This is a tough time for a guy that has had probably one of the best careers of any pitcher ever, and it's no fun to finish like this. And I know he's frustrated.
Well, this story is certainly our storyline, brought to you by Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers for Serious Injuries.
But I can't believe that you would accuse an opposing pitcher of using pine tar. It's his last start of the day, unless you had his hat, or there was no sign of pine tar on that hat. And even if underneath, if there's a thumbprint there, every pitcher in the world puts their thumb on their hat to pull it down after every pitch, because your hat gets sideways when you throw. It's just natural reaction to straighten your hat back out.
3-1 to Holiday, and that one grounded foul.
I just don't know that there's anything good that can come from that kind of deal. That's just a bad thing. It'd be best if, you know, if Duncan just said, hey, you know, we lost the game. I was upset, and I shouldn't have said what I said, and let's go on with it. I respect Bronson Arroyo, and forget about it.
3-2 the count. Fouled back out of play, and John Smoltz, you heard his comments. He did say, hey, the other guy found a way to get it done and make pitches.
Yes, he did.
So he did indeed give the credit where the credit was due.
He did.
According to his liking, disliking, he thought the balls were too slick.
Right.
I mean, he's entitled to that opinion if that's the way he felt.
And he is. And he stood up like a man and said, hey, you know, I didn't like the way the balls were, but the other guy found a way to win. And that's okay. But don't accuse him of cheating just because he won.
3-2 to Holiday, and a ground ball to the shortstop, Giannis. Or Giannis watching today as Sutton replaces him at short. And that's 4 in a row retired by Kip Wells to begin the afternoon.
The way that Sutton and Giannis go after the baseball are almost identical.
You're trying to take me off the hook.
No, I'm just telling you, because I looked down there and did the same thing. I just didn't say it. When they go after the baseball and they get ready to throw, they look almost identical. But especially when they get ready to come over the top, because they're short arming the ball going to first base.
Well, I'm glad you got my back, big boy.
They do look the same. I almost said the same thing you do.
Rick Ankiel makes his first start of the series. In there, a strike.
You wonder where Ankiel will be in all of this stuff.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, when you start looking at this team, and I mean, clearly he'll be on the postseason roster. I don't think there's any debate about that. But you know, how much playing time realistically can he expect? That one into right field, and Bruce leaps, and it's out of his glove. And Ankiel will reach second base safely. That looked like a play the Jays should have made. He had to go into the air to get it, but it hit him right in the glove. Scored a double.
Well, this is the kind of play that when Jay is out there every day, I think it's a play that he makes. But because of the fact that he hasn't been out there every day, it's been kind of sporadic. He just didn't come up with it. And I think he'll tell you that he probably should have caught that ball.
Well, now Troy Gloss. Gloss has been injured virtually the entire season. They knew last year he had a bad shoulder and is only appearing in his 11th game with the Cardinals this season. He had right shoulder surgery at the end of January. Went out on a couple of rehab stints, one in July, another in August, just could not get right. 33-year-old, and he has had an excellent major league career.
And you can watch him when he throws, Tom. I remember having the surgeries on my throwing shoulder, and the only way to protect it is to really get your elbow in close to your ribs as you throw the ball to keep it from getting too much extension. And that's exactly how he throws the ball to first base. Then you clench your teeth and hope you don't say anything bad.
Swing and a miss on a 2-0 pitch. 2 balls and a strike to Gloss. We're in a scoreless game here in the top of the second inning. This is the quintessential fall afternoon in the Midwest.
Beautiful.
Sunshine. Temperatures right around 60 degrees. Reds used to play a lot of baseball in this kind of weather well into October, and they're hoping to get back there again come 2010.
Well, I don't think they're far off. I think they've done a good job putting pieces together here and there, pulling from some clubs, addition, subtraction. It just takes a little while. You can't do it overnight. And as we've seen other clubs, you can't buy it either. It just comes together.
Three and one to Gloss, and Keel at second base, and that one lined into left center field, a base hit that'll bring in a run. And Keel taps the plate with his left foot, and the Cardinals lead 1-0.
This ball was inside, and that's really about the only ball that Gloss can get to. And normally he's known for a guy that has a lot of reach. You don't get the ball away from him, you jam him. But right now, because of the right shoulder issue, you don't go in there. You go away because he can't extend his right arm out there to get to that baseball. Very similar to what Bagwell was at the end of his career in Houston.
That is the first run batted in this season for Gloss. Only 19 at bats, 3 for 19 coming into the game today. Fastball high to Yadier Molina. Molina, .291 batting. 6 home runs, 52 runs batted in.
I like this guy. He can catch. He can hit too.
Also very much become a leader at that position for this team and for this franchise. I think you saw a lot of that even in the All-Star game this year.
I agree. And between he and his brothers, I think he is the more leadership type of individual.
Lined into center field. That'll fall in a base hit. 3 straight hits for the Cardinals after Wells retired the first 4 batters of the game. It's fallen behind everybody.
Well, you and I both know that is not the key to success against this ball club. "24 strikes, 16 balls."
Now the number 8 hitter, Brendan Ryan, stepping to the plate. Ryan, a .290 batter with 3 runs batted in, and he's hitting the back on a breaking ball.
Breaking ball. You're faster than me today, partner.
Don't bet on that.
Breaking ball, just trying to break it over the plate, and it just spins up there and catches Ryan in between the arm and the rib cage, and he happily just eases on down to first base. The one thing that is working in Carpenter's favor, he got the first batter out in Holiday, so realistically he's 1 pitch away. You get a ground ball to either Sutton or any of the infielders for that matter. This infield has been able to turn double plays that have amazed me, especially from Roland and from Votto. So you get a ground ball to one of the guys in the infield, you got a chance to get out of it with 1 pitch.
So Carpenter digging in, 9 hits and 60 at bats on the season. He has 2 doubles and 1 RBI. And that ball is hammered into left field. And that ball is gone. A grand slam by the pitcher, Chris Carpenter, on a first pitch fastball here in the top of the 2nd inning.
Wow.
That ball was on a tee.
I don't know if he took something off of it, but that didn't look like his regular hard fastball. But either way, you don't expect the pitcher to waylay it over the fence. Carpenter's only hitting 150.
In nearly 320 career at bats, Chris Carpenter had 6 RBIs. He got 4 on 1 swing.
I don't even know that he's ever had a home run.
Never. First one of his career.
Wow. It's not a good way to start the day.
And again, Wells falling behind 2-0. Now 2 balls and a strike on Schumacher. 5 straight Cardinals have reached. 5 straight Cardinals have scored.
And Mike Owings is already up in the bullpen. I would imagine as soon as he gets hot, he's coming in the game.
Carpenter becomes the 10th Cardinal pitcher to hit a grand slam. The last guy to do it, Kent Mercker, hit a grand slam wearing a Cardinal uniform against the Marlins in 1998.
Yeah, but Merck could hit.
On the ground to Sutton, and he'll throw out Schumacher, 2 away in the inning.
I wonder what it feels like when the pitcher hits a home run and then you're a position player and you ground out. That's got to feel kind of bad, you know. Pitcher just
especially if you're 0 for 2 in Schumacher's case.
Well, you know, the pitcher just hits a granny and you go up there and at least you can hit it hard and then you just get out. It's got to feel kind of bad.
Colby Rasmus, the batter, he takes low, and that got a piece of the home plate umpire Brian O'Nora. Looked like it got him in the right leg, right knee. He's hurting. And he is down on the grass behind home plate. Flush in the right kneecap, it looked like.
Oh, man, he is in major pain. I'm not sure if it hit him above the kneecap, to the side of the kneecap, or if it, I don't think that it could have hit him directly on the kneecap because of the shin guards. Actually, Tom, I think it hit directly on the shin guard, and it still made that kind of impact.
I mean, it looked like that was a direct hit right on the kneecap, didn't it?
Well, on the shin guard, you have there's a small amount of space as the third base umpire Fielding Culbreth looks like he's going in to put on the equipment. I think Brian O'Nora has seen his last call behind home plate. But on the shin guard, you have a very small area of really where the connecting fibers are between the two. You can see this pad. You can see that there's padding in this area, but there's a seam that runs right along here, and that's exactly where he catches it. You can see him go right to that area, and that fiber is really what connects those real hard. There's a round circle that's right around the kneecap, and then there's a long guard that goes down on the shin bone. You see a lot of hitters that come out with that long pad on, or you'll see something that's very almost like an elbow pad that the hitters will have on, and that's what the umpire has for a knee pad, or that type of structure for a knee pad. But the bottom line is it doesn't cover everything. I mean, you're just covering the kneecap, and anything around that is really fiber, elastic fiber. And that had to catch him in a very vulnerable spot because he went down hard. He's still hurt.
Well, we talk about how tough these guys are. I mean, it's one thing to be in your 20s and your 30s. In some cases, Major League Baseball players that play into their 40s. A lot of these umpires, you're starting in the late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s in some cases, and these guys are out there for all 9 innings. When you're working behind the plate, you're going to get hit with foul balls in the shoulder, the elbow, the hands, the feet, everywhere, in the mask.
I think O'Nora's coming out of the game. I don't know that he's going to be able to finish because he couldn't even stand up behind home plate. He was wobbling. And we've had a lot of things going on here right early, and we hadn't even finished the second inning. I'm not sure if it was Fielding Culbreth or Adrian Johnson.
Well, you got to believe that Fielding Culbreth, who just worked behind the plate last night,
it's probably not. It's probably not
him.
It's probably Adrian Johnson.
Yep.
That's at first base. He's due to work the plate tomorrow night, and all they do is just turn the rotation clockwise, and you go from there. But what we'll probably end up having is Phildon Culbreth and Gary Cedarstrom will be the umpires that are out onto the field of play. Adrian Johnson will be the single umpire behind home plate. And we'll play this game with 3. That's how they do it down in the minor leagues. A little different coverage in different areas, but they get the field covered.
Of course, they get to the postseason in Major League Baseball, and after playing with 4 during the regular year, you play with 6. Home plate first, second, third, and down each line.
The lines for the fair and foul ball calls. And
I'd like to remind you today, a big day, pardon me, Cowboy. Later on tonight at 7 o'clock, our Ohio High School football game of the week. Lakota East will take on Oak Hills. Find out who will come out on top out on the west side. That's tonight at 7. Pre-game show at 6:30. Our Fox Sports Ohio High School football game of the week. You know, let me ask you a question. While we're sitting around here and a little time to kill, it pretty much looked like everything's nailed down for the postseason. I mean, Colorado now with a 4-game lead in the wild card with 4 to go. They can officially clinch tonight at the minimum a place in the playoffs.
Yes.
When you look at the National League and how the playoffs are going to shake down, who do you like coming out and representing the National League in the World Series, and why?
Well, in my mind, I like Philadelphia more than I do anybody else. And the reason is 1 through 9 at their ballpark, they've got a chance to beat you with 1 swing of the bat. And that's really where things, to me, where everything comes down to is those close ball games that are at the end of the game, 1 swing of the bat, who can beat you. And that ball club, from the top of their order even to the pitchers, can hit the ball out of the ballpark at Philadelphia. Now, some of the other ballparks, no, it's not going to be that way. St. Louis, we know for sure, is not a hitter's ballpark. Neither is Los Angeles. It's probably the furthest thing from a hitter's ballpark. And as we saw in Colorado, it's not nearly like it used to be. And for me, after they got Cliff Lee and watching how Happ has pitched and some of the other guys have thrown the baseball, I really just don't know how anybody can out-hit Philadelphia.
But let me ask you, for a guy who was a former Rolaids Relief Man of the Year, it's been well documented the struggles of Brad Lidge this year in that closer's role.
I agree.
They don't have anybody that's ever quote unquote been there outside of Lidge in that role, and right now he's not even in that role. So how do you feel about their chances late in games, trying to preserve leads?
It goes back to how Adam Wainwright handled the situation when Isringhausen went down, and they had to go to Adam Wainwright in the playoffs in that scenario and use him as their closer, and he was wonderful. And at that point in time, Wainwright was a rookie. Now, I've seen Ryan Madsen throw. Matter of fact, I watched him in a ball game either last night or the night before. He came on while Lidge was standing in the bullpen and not pitching, and he closed out the side in big-time fashion. And I really think that, I don't know that Charlie Manuel did that to prove a point to Lidge, or if he did it to give confidence to Madsen. There's always a purpose for why you do certain things from a managerial standpoint. It could be to put an edge on Lidge. It could be to pump up Ryan Madsen, or at least show that he can do it. But I still don't believe that that club is going to have a problem finishing the game. I just don't see it. I think they're just going to end up going with a committee issue. And if Lidge is there to be able to get it done, then they'll go to him. And there's no reason that Lidge can't have an absolutely horrible year and come in and have a great postseason. There's no reason that he can't do that, because we've seen him pitch. We've seen him have an absolute terrible postseason coming off a phenomenal year. So it can change from one to the other. The biggest thing for Brad Lidge is getting the breaking ball over the plate. If he throws strikes with the breaking ball, you're out. You're not going to hit him. And it's just a small little niche, a small little place in his mechanics that he's got to find to get that ball in the right spot. If he does that, then he's fine. Up to this point, that little niche has been a mystery. But I'm not afraid of watching Madsen out there to do that job. I don't think that kid's scared. I don't think he has any problem. The only issue that he may have is throwing strikes. But I think a lot of his inability to throw strikes comes from a lack of concentration. And I think in the playoffs and World Series, if they're fortunate enough to make it that far, I don't think that is going to be a problem concentration-wise. We've got Adrian Wilson at home plate, Phildon Colbreth at first base, and Gary Cederstrom is now at third.
Ball one to Colby Rasmus, and he jumps on the first pitch. A sinking liner to right center. Stubbs is there, and the inning is over. NASA has had shorter delays than we had in this one. A 5-run inning for the Redbirds and a 5-run lead. Chrysler dealer today for some of the best deals of the season. By State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Dodge. Grab Life. By Just for Men. Stay in the game with Just for Men hair color. And by Skyline Chili. You know it's Skyline time when you get that craving for a Skyline 3-way or cheese coney. Did you have Skyline last night, Cowboy?
I did not. I was still recuperating.
How about tonight?
No, I don't think I'm going to have it tonight either. I'm trying to follow my wife's orders and just eat what she tells me. She's coming tomorrow. I don't want to be getting whooped.
Reds trailing Chris Carpenter and the Cardinals as they bat in the second inning, 5-0. Phillips, Rowland, and Bruce against a Cardinal ace who hit a grand slam in the top of this inning. That one popped up, and a running grab made by Schumacher for the first out. Our Geico Direct quote of the game came from Bronson Arroyo about the decision to leave the game in the 9th inning last night.
He asked me if I was all right. I think he wanted me to stay out there for the first time all year, and I told him I had nothing left. I couldn't throw a fastball for a strike, and Albert had seen everything I had in the book, and I figured I'd walk away, let Nick, handle it, and he did.
Anytime, as a starting pitcher, at that point in the ball game, you have to be truthful with your manager. Now, 5 and 5 or 6, 5th or 6th inning. I'm not saying not to be truthful with your manager, but you got to push yourself a little bit at that point.
On a breaking ball, rolling is hit in the back by Carpenter.
When you're in the 8th inning and you've run out of gas totally, that's not the time to be trying to make up pitches. That's the time you tell the manager, I'm done, let's go to the bullpen. But in the 5th or the 6th inning, you got to gut through it. You got to push, and you got to do whatever you can to get yourself to the 7th inning. I thought it was a great move last night by Arroyo and by Dusty to go to the bullpen and go to Massett, because that shut down any hope that the Cardinals had of coming back. I mean, when Massett came in the game, it was done.
So after 4 in a row set down by Carpenter to begin the game, he hits Rowland and now works out of the stretch and delivers ball 1 to Jay Bruce. Jay, 22 home runs, 57 batted in. He hit 2 home runs and knocked in a career high 5 in the opening game of this series on Tuesday night. See what Bruce has done over the last 10 days. Man, those are good numbers. Had a good rip at that 1-1 pitch and fouls it back to the screen.
I think he's just really gone back to looking middle away and driving the ball into the left center field gap, or just basically saying, I'm going to hit a bullet over the shortstop's head. And if I catch it a little early, I'm going to hit it out of the ballpark and right. If I'm a little bit late, I'm going to shoot it right down the left field line. But by doing that, by saying I'm going to hit it over the shortstop, you allow the ball to get deeper and you make a better swing.
2-2 to Bruce.
And it gives you longer to look at pitches, so you don't swing at pitches that are 3 feet out of the strike zone or bouncing or over your head.
Strike 3 called, a fastball in the inside corner, and that's a second strike out of the game for Carpenter.
That's where Carpenter is going to make his money. Watch where this ball is going to start right here. Watch where it comes back. It's coming all the way back to right there. That is a lot of movement for a right-handed pitcher. For the batter to stand there, he's thinking it's going to be a ball, and the ball runs right back over the inside corner. And every time you'll see the hitter drop his hands down to his waist or raise his hands in the air. The pitch is always a strike, but yet it sure looks like it's a ball.
Today is the first start in the series for Johnny Gomes. He's down strike 1. 268 batted, 20 home runs, 51 runs batted in. Big breaking ball, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Well, you'll realize till you see Carpenter in person, he is one big dude.
Yes. And he's got phenomenal extension to the plate with his legs and his arms, and that's what allows him to get that ball to move the way that it does.
He is 6 feet 6 inches tall and goes about 240 pounds.
That's when you start talking about the Beckett's and the Schillings of the world.
But I don't even think Beckett and Schilling go 6'6". They might go 6'3", 6'4".
They don't. Carpenter reminds me of Roy Halladay. I think if you put their mechanics side by side and you watch them throw, they are very, very similar.
And of course, they were teammates together for a number of years when Carpenter was first arriving at the major league level. He came up with the Blue Jays, broke in back in '97. Was there all the way until 2003 when he got hurt in 02 and the Cardinals gave him that contract to sit out an entire year. Well, he has been money ever since. One man left, end of 2, the Cardinals with a 5-0 lead.
Perfect.
Well, coming your way this Sunday, a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with the Seahawks going to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. And then on the backside, Tony Romo and the Cowboys take on unbeaten Denver. Coverage begins Sunday with America's #1 pregame show at high noon.
Whoever's playing the Colts, losers.
They're pretty good.
Yes, they are.
Of course, there are a lot of good teams in the AFC.
What amazes me is that they're able to do it year in and year out, changing backs, changing wide receivers. About that catch Reggie Wayne made the other day. One-handed going into the end zone. But we expect him to make that.
Oh, and one to Albert. Fouled away. But you said the other night you are a Cowboys guy, right? Didn't you say that the other night?
Yeah, I like Cowboys.
They're your guys.
But I like Peyton too.
Yeah, but if they played in the Super Bowl, you would root for the Cowboys.
No, I would root for the Colts.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, then why did I ask you the other night who your favorite team was, and you mentioned the Cowboys and the Tennessee Titans, and you never said the Indianapolis Colts?
I did?
Yes.
I don't remember that. I think you asked me who I would go see.
No, I asked you. No, I did ask you that, but then I said, who's your favorite team? And you said, growing up in Alabama, that you found yourself rooting for the Cowboys.
Oh,
and I said,
yeah.
well, you mean not New Orleans Saints? And you said, no, the Cowboys, right?
When I was growing up, those definitely were my favorite teams. The Cowboys, not the Titans, the Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins. They were by far my favorite teams. And I loved them. I mean, and you still have, you know, when you're a little kid, you still have a place in your heart there. But as you grow older, you get a little closer to some people in some areas and just like to watch Peyton play. He's a stud.
So at the end of the day, just to make sure I understand, so I can hassle you from time to time during the offseason.
Yes.
Your favorite team is now the Indianapolis Colts.
That is correct.
All right.
I like to watch them win, but I do like the Cowboys now.
2-2 delivery. Fouled away.
The Dolphins regime has just changed so much. It's hard for me to hang in there.
You liked them when they had Don Shula running the operation.
I liked it when I could just say Larry Zonka.
The great Paul Warfield.
Oh.
Bob Greasy.
Mercury Morris.
Yeah, Larry Zonka. Jim Kick right on down the line.
Bob Baumhauer. You can name him.
3-2 the count on Pujols. 57 pitches have been thrown in this game by Wells, and this is the leadoff batter in the 3rd inning. "17 of the 57 have been thrown to Albert Pujols. Same kind of at bat he had his first time up when he wound out grounding out to the shortstop Sutton. But a lengthy at bat then, and another one now.
18. And you think that one guy doesn't make a difference. It does. You battle and you fight, you foul off that many pitches, pitcher goes into a time warp. Albert wanted to hit. You see that? Albert was mad that he got a walk.
You really see why Wells has frustrated so many pitching coaches and managers through the years. I mean, there are times where no one has ever debated his stuff.
No.
I mean, he has good stuff. Throws hard, life on the fastball, good movement. But his ability to command that stuff has eluded him by and large his entire major league career.
Well, the thing that is so crazy is we watched Justin Lear pitch the other night, and Justin Lear is pitching on his last leg, and he threw strikes throwing 82 miles an hour, 83 miles an hour, just changing speeds.
Base hit into right field off the bat of Holiday will advance Pujols on to second base.
And he ended up getting a win in that game. Talking about Justin Lear. Dusty's had it. I don't think he wants to watch this anymore. Yeah, this is not going to be a look in the eye kind of situation. This is going to be go to the bullpen and you leave.
So that's all for Wells. A very disappointing outing. His final start of this season. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. By JTM Food Family Fun, JTM. Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by Jeep. The Jeep summer clearance is here. Beautiful day along the banks of the Ohio. A bad day so far for the Reds, trailing 5-0. The day is over for starter Kip Wells. He goes 2+ innings, allows 5 earned runs, including a grand slam to the pitcher Chris Carpenter. And now taking over is Mike Owings out of the bullpen. Owings walks in with Pujols at second base and Matt Holliday on at first, nobody out. Well, Cowboy, 3 more to go after today in his 2009 regular season.
That's right.
Pirates will be in town over the weekend.
Pirates.
Fan Appreciation Day is on Sunday as Ann Keel has gone on strikes. Justin Lear, Johnny Cueto, then Homer Bailey will be the probables for the Reds over the weekend.
And for Mike Owings, that's all you can do right there. You just continue to try to keep the Reds in the game and hope that some way, fashion, or form they can put together a big inning, or they can get Carpenter out of the ball game and have a big inning, one way or the other.
Troy Gloss knocked in the first Cardinal run with a single to center field in that 5-run second inning. And he was aboard when Chris Carpenter clubbed a grand slam, his first career home run. Two and 0 to Gloss. In the hole, Sutton going to come to third, and Rolen finds the bag. Pujols just assuming Rolen was going to be on the bag and sort of peeled off to avoid any kind of collision over there.
It was kind of funny there because Rolen was on the outfield side running towards the bag, and Pujols was running towards Rolen, and the bag was towards home plate. I think they both ended up in the wrong spot.
So Owings has come in, got a strikeout and a ground ball for an out, and here's Yadier Molina with Holliday the runner at second, Gloss on at first. Molina looks at a strike. He singled and scored in the second inning. Slow roller to Sutton. They'll go the easy way to Phillips, and a nice job by Micah. Came in with 2 on and nobody out. Retires 3 in a row. Tundra out in left center field if a Reds player hits the Tundra sign there, or between the smokestacks over in right center today. Brian Hemsath of Highland Heights, Kentucky will win that new Toyota Tundra. Got to give that baby away these final 4 games, Cowboy. How about if we went 4 straight games with a winner? Now, what would happen if we haven't had it all year long, but here in the final 4 games of the year, a Reds player, bang, 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 4 consecutive days off that Toyota Tundra sign in right center field.
I think it would be huge.
But I mean, whoever hit it today, they got to get that Tundra down.
Right.
Or do you just leave it there, wait till the end of the year, give that one away, and then 3 more right behind it off the showroom floor?
Oh, no. I think they take that one down. They put another one up.
No.
They whack it off the fence, off that sign out there. The next day, they bring the crane back. They take that next one down, put another one up there. Next game, whack, off the stacks again. 3 in a row. And everybody's like, oh, we got to get the crane again to get this thing down. They get it down. They put it back up there. They're running out of colors. Finally, they put a purple one up there. And somebody whacks it up there, and a chick wins it. How about that?
That'd be nice.
That'd be big.
That'd be nice.
Yes, like that.
Well, I don't know how they would do it, but it would be interesting.
They probably wouldn't do it like that.
No, I don't think so. Brendan Ryan handles a 2-hopper by Corky Miller, 1 away to begin the Reds' 3rd inning, trailing 5-0. And won the count on Micah Owings, and he serves one into right field. That'll fall in, a base hit. Stumbling and falling down out there is Ankiel, and Owings will coast into second base. We'll see how they rule that. Player loses his footing. Rarely do they hang him with an error. It's a straight double.
Micah Owings amazes me. He has the instincts of a left fielder or a regular player, a first baseman, whatever. He hits. He never even broke stride. As soon as he was going to take an aggressive turn, as soon as that ball kicked away, he just kept right on going, right on into second base. As a player.
And you saw that Micah Owings is one of the players wearing those new helmets that allegedly are a little bit more like a goalie mask in hockey or a football player's helmet, to try to get better protection for the head and the brain against the possibility of a concussion or serious head injury.
Well, after being hit, he's almost has no choice but to at least use that until the year's over. I'm sure that before you get into spring training of next year, they'll have another one of those.
There's a base hit fisted into right field by Stubbs, sending Owings on to third, so the Reds have runners on the corners with only 1 out. Well, we remember this. In Atlanta. Scary stuff.
And he was fortunate that it hit in between the bill of the helmet and the edge of the helmet, even though that edge did bow in as it cut the side of his temple region, but it didn't look to me as though he took a flush hit to the head. as Roland did when the ball just hit him in the back of the helmet and dropped straight down.
Well, the worst I've seen all year long, I was doing the Mets game earlier this year when David Wright got hit in the head with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball. That was bad. Really bad.
But I think there are a couple of safety issues that baseball's really got to examine. And
out at first is Stubbs. How many times have the Cardinals been doing that? And you talk about it in scouting reports until you're blue in the face before a game whenever you play the Cardinals.
And I don't, you know, Stubbs may have been blocked out by the batter at the plate. May not have even been told. I don't even know that he got back to the bag. He started to dive back, but there was a whole lot of dirt in between his hand and first base. But going back to the safety issues, the bat breaking and flying into the stands and all over the infield, I don't think there's been one yet that has actually stuck into the flesh of someone, but it's going to happen.
Really, that is where the National Football League, by leaps and bounds, is so far ahead of the curve when compared to baseball.
As far as safety?
Safety of the players.
What do you mean by that? Tell me what you mean by that.
Every year the NFL will learn a lesson, and they'll have a rules committee, which I don't even think baseball has, that's made up of head coaches around the NFL, the competition committee, the rules committee. They'll look at different things, not only just rules of the game and should this one be changed, an overtime rule comes to mind, but as far as the protection and the safety of the players, and a lot of fans don't like seeing the way quarterbacks, for example, are protected now.
Yes.
But during the NFL, wide receivers, a player in a defenseless position, it used to be if you hit them with your helmet to their helmet, okay, that's a penalty. This year, now all of a sudden, that's gone for your hand or your forearm or your elbow or your shoulder into the head of a defenseless player. And they're always on top of the game on things like that that have to do with the safety and the protection of the people playing.
So it's not left up to the individuals, it's left up to it is a rule.
It's a rule. That ball pulled foul, still 3-2 on Drew Sutton.
Well, the bat's flying in the air at the distances that we see, and oftentimes they land in various places around the infield, grass, dirt. They're not anywhere near somebody. But being a former pitcher, I can tell you that you're absolutely defenseless on a play like that, because you have no depth perception whatsoever as the bat or the ball comes out, and you're either going to get hit in the head with the ball while looking for a bat, or you're going to get stuck with a bat looking for a ball.
It's an excellent at bat right there by Drew Sutton. He draws a walk. But of course, the danger that you get into, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind somebody can make a wooden bat that's not going to break. There's got to be something and various things you can use to make sure that doesn't happen. But now, what is the result of that? Does the bat become so hard that now the pitcher and everybody else is in danger, as if these guys were using aluminum bats? 0-1 to Joey Votto.
Well, I think the problem that has come in is the use of maple, because maple is the type of bat that breaks off at the handle, and that's the bat that you see flying through the air. Ash is a different type of wood. It splinters horizontally instead of vertically, and it just cracks instead of flying off with the big end of the bat flying at you at Lord knows how many miles an hour. But I mean, we've seen them fly out there and stick in the ground. We've seen them do different things going into the stands. I just don't like waiting around until somebody gets hurt before you make a rule.
1-2 to Joey Votto.
To me, that's not proactive, that's reactive.
And again, another example, NFL, that horse collar tackle rule. They had a couple of guys, they blow their knee out because all of a sudden somebody grabs them around a shoulder pad up by their neck and jerks them completely.
While they're running full speed.
No more of that. College game has not changed that rule, which is somewhat of a surprise.
Yeah, I wondered about that because I'm a football fan, and I saw a couple of times where the college players were tackled that way. And I was thinking to myself, where's the flag? And then come to find out, that's not a foul.
1-2 to Votto. Runners on the corners with 2 away. Reds trailing 5-0. This game moving roughly the speed of a glacier so far here today. We are in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Kip Wells is already out of the game. Carpenter, although working on a 2-hit shutout, is certainly not on top of his game as we've seen in the past. Although he takes care of Votto. Big play in that inning to pick off of Stubbs at first base. End of 3. Cardinals in front of the Reds 5-0. Who is the Cardinals' all-time career ERA leader? Now, I would imagine this has to have a minimum number of games, innings, right?
Right.
All right. So who you picking? I mean, does this include a reliever?
I wouldn't think so. I don't think it's a.
Over 700 innings pitched, we're told.
Okay.
How many innings did you pitch in your career? You know, roughly?
About 800 or 900. Right.
So it could be a reliever then, theoretically.
Yeah, but that would be, you'd have to pitch them all with the same team.
I understand.
I'm going to say Bob Gibson.
Yep.
I mean, heck, he made him move the mound down.
After that 1968 season, of course, when Denny McClain won over 30 games that year, and Gibson had an ERA in the mid-1s for the entire season. Mike Owings on in relief of Red starter Kip Wells, and he's now retired on this fly ball by Brendan Ryan. All 4 batters he's faced. 1 away to begin the Redbirds' 4th inning, leading 5-0.
Well, it just showed you in that last inning, Tom, with the Reds with runners at first and second base, and coming up to the middle of the order for the Reds, that this game still has a lot to be left on the playing side. 5-0 in the 9th. That's a different story. 5-0 in the 3rd. We still got a lot of baseball left.
Carpenter really the big blow in this game. Yes, the Cardinals got a 1-0 lead on a double by Ant Keel with 1 out in the second inning, and he scored on a single by Troy Gloss. But then Molina singled. Brendan Ryan was hit by a pitch. Dick Pole came out to the mound to try and settle down Wells, and the very next pitch that left his fingers was hit for a grand slam to left field, the first career home run for Chris Carpenter. Final numbers on Wells: 2+ innings, allowed 5 hits, 5 runs earned. He walked a batter, hit a batter, struck out a batter. 2-2 to Carpenter. Is ball 3.
I can remember when I gave up my first hit to a pitcher. I was so embarrassed because I didn't think that, you were supposed to give up hits to pitchers, because after a couple years in the big leagues, there weren't, they just didn't hit.
Well, he won't get a hit off Mike Owings this time. In a year to Brandon Phillips for the second out.
Steve Avery hit a double off of me. I was like, oh man, I'm dying at nothing. Come to find out, he was a pretty good hitter. He would fit kind of in that Owings category.
Skip Schumacher with 2 down and nobody on. He's 0 for 3. He's hit the ball very hard twice. A line short 1 hopper to Phillips leading off the game. And then a rocket right at the shortstop Sutton in the second inning. 2-0.
And I think this guy will play a major part in how the offense does for the Cardinals. If he's on base with a threat to, not really even being a threat to run, but just being on base and a scoring threat, it's going to make pitchers have a difficult time with the 3 or 4 that come after Skip Schumacher. Having Rasmus up there and Albert and Matt Holliday.
Well, a 4-pitch walk is issued to Schumacher, so the inning continues for Rasmus. We know that Mike Owings edged out Homer Bailey for the number 5 spot in the Reds rotation coming out of spring training. And we know what kind of year it's been for Owings. Up and down, some highs, some lows. Has been out of the rotation for the better part of a month after, feeling some tightness in his shoulder. You look ahead at 2010. What do you think might be in store for Mike Owings?
Well, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation, and I don't know that they'll even give him a shot at the rotation, simply because his shoulder and his mechanics and the way that he throws the baseball are not made for 35 starts.
We'll get back to that when we return. Back-to-back solid innings for Owings out in the bullpen. Reds are still down, however, 5-0. All right, Cowboy, time to answer our Aflac trivia question. Who is the Cardinals' all-time career ERA leader?
Aflac. I said Gibson.
You know what? This guy was going to be my second choice.
English tutor.
Well, when he pitched for the Cardinals, he was mighty good. Mighty good. I am told Bob Gibson is number 9 on that list.
You know, he was not even, when he played at Georgia Southern, he almost didn't even make the team. That's how bad he was. And he had that little almost sidearm kind of push delivery towards home plate, and he developed it into a sinker. But the thing that he could do is he could locate it on a dime.
Oh yeah.
And he could move it out a little bit, in a little bit. I think that watching John Tudor was one of those things that taught all of us how to use the outside corner of the plate and expand it, and then go back in for just a little bit and then go right back out to that outside corner.
Boy, he was tough. Man.
Maddox came along with it after that, really using it to that same type of advantage. A lot of the Braves did, and the rest is kind of history, I guess you say.
Tapper to the second baseman Schumacher, and Brandon Phillips thrown out to begin the Reds' 4th inning. Here's some of John Tudor. Not a big guy, not a physically imposing guy. Who could ever forget the one time he went to field? What a pop-up bunt over by the dugout and went sliding into the dugout to make a huge play. I think it might even been the postseason.
Yeah.
Then, if I'm not mistaken, a guy making the same play came sliding into him in a dugout and broke his leg. Isn't that right?
I can't remember. I remember something like that.
I am pretty sure that's what happened to him. A player, a catcher, or a first baseman, third baseman, somebody came running in, slid, and their momentum took him into the Cardinal dugout. And if I remember correctly, broke Tudor's leg. Base hit into left field by Scott Rowland. Rowland aboard for the second time after getting hit on a pitch in the second.
But as you said, Tom, Tudor was never an imposing guy. He was kind of quiet to a certain extent. Did like a practical joke every now and then. But on the mound, look out. Total
Bruce down a strike. Oh, he was tough.
He'd throw those fastballs outside on that outside corner at the perfect height, right at the hollow of the knee, and he kept throwing them out there, throwing them out there. And just when you thought, okay, I'm going to dive out there and get that thing, it was like he could read your mind. Zip inside, strike 3, and you're like, oh man, knew it was going to happen.
0-1 account on Jay Bruce. We're in the bottom of the 4th inning. Cardinals lead 5-0. All 5 runs came in the second inning. And Bruce behind 0-2. Jay struck out looking his first time up. Carpenter, as far as a pacing is concerned, works very differently when the bases are empty as opposed to when runners are on base. He becomes an extremely deliberate pitcher when the opposition has runners anywhere on the base paths. He'll walk around the mound a lot, which he's doing now. But when there's nobody on, I mean, he is on that rubber and ready to roll.
Pumping. Well, I think when he has runners on base, that perfectionist in him comes out, and he's already a phenomenal competitor, and trying to be competitive and make the perfect pitch, they don't always mesh correctly. These swings that we're seeing Jay Bruce take go back to what we were talking about last night. A lot of swings are inside the ball, trying to fight it off the other way, and Carpenter trying to do exactly the opposite, make him pull the baseball.
2-2 again is pulled and hit down the right field line. Is it fair? Is it foul? That is a foul ball. Bruce going hard all the way. He didn't stand there and watch it. He had caught Scott Rowland in between first and second base.
I think that's what Carpenter was waiting on, was for him to really spin on a ball like that. Now he can go with a changeup away.
Still 2 balls, 2 strikes on Jay Bruce. Again pulled down the right field line. This one not hit nearly as well. Would not have been enough to get out of here.
Now maybe we'll see a fastball.
Tried that same fastball that he got Bruce looking on back in the second inning. It starts in and comes back to the inside corner, but he missed this time.
Yeah, that one was down a little bit, held on to it just a tad too long. That is a tough pitch to make. You hear people talking about field pitches, that's one of them.
Bouncing ball to Brendan Ryan. He bobbles the ball and everybody's safe. I think he was surprised Bruce was running when he went to field the ball, thinking about going to second, and all of a sudden he found that Scott Rowland was already there.
Well, Rowland took off as soon as the ball started homeward, but you see Brendan Ryan, he broke in order to cover second base and had to stop and freeze. You look up, and by the time he looked up, that ball just ate him alive. Major top spin on that baseball.
That'll bring Johnny Gomes to the plate. Carpenter didn't fool around with Johnny Gomes much the last time. Struck him out on 3 pitches.
He gave Ryan an error there, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. Get an idea of truly how good Carpenter is here today. I mean, this is far from his best stuff. He is truly laboring out there today. 75th pitch of the game. Yet he's only allowed 3 hits and not a single run. And really, that at the end of the day is what separates mediocre guys from good guys, good guys to great guys, and even great guys from truly the elite.
You're right. You got to be able to win when you have nothing. And that's what surprised me so much the other day, watching Homer Bailey in his start 2 starts ago. He had nothing.
The Pirate start.
Yeah, he didn't even strike out a Pirate, and he pitched 6 or 7 innings. Walked a couple of guys, didn't give up but a run or 2. I mean, you would have never known anything was wrong other than the fact that he didn't strike out anybody.
Breaking ball and a borderline pitch there, according to the fans in the stands. Good enough for Adrian Johnson. 2-2 to Johnny Gomes.
But that's one of those things that really tells you that Homer Bailey is starting to move up the ladder a little bit.
Two and two on Gomes with 2 on and 1 out. In the air left field, an easy play for Holiday, and there are 2 gone with Corky Miller coming up.
Gomes got something that he liked, but that ball was not even a foot off the ground. That's a tough ball to lift right there. Middle away, down. Slider.
Now Miller, who bounced out to the shortstop Brendan Ryan, his only time up. Reds are trailing 5-0. Broken bat roller against the screen. Exactly what you brought up earlier, Jeff Brantley. And that throw in the dirt by Gloss. But it will end the inning. A hit, 2 men left. Reds have stranded 5 and trail by that number. AT&T, the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T, your world delivered. Alongside the Cowboy, Jeff Brantley, Tom Brenneman, our entire Fox Sports Ohio crew. We're back at Great American Ballpark. Well, the Reds trail the Cardinals in the finale of this 3-game series. Reds won the first 2 games in dominant fashion. Won the opener 7-2, 6-1 here last night. But today, Chris Carpenter hitting a grand slam in a 5-run second inning, and that's a score, 5-0. Mike Owings has done a very solid job out of the bullpen. Has only allowed 1 base runner, no runs, no hits through 2 innings. 2-0 to Albert Pujols.
The pitcher hit a grand slam.
For the other team.
I know.
Pulled to the shortstop, Sutton. 1 away. Well, the Reds would like to say thanks to some of the best fans in baseball on Sunday. Fan Appreciation Day at the ballpark. And fan prizes throughout the game. Tickets to the zoo, Chipotle burritos, La Rosa's. Gift certificates from Montgomery Inn, Frisch's, Carpent Land, so much more. 381 Reds, the number to dial, or go to Reds.com. Cowboy, you might try and sneak out of here with some of those gift certificates.
How do you get that Montgomery Inn one?
I can't answer that question.
Think you could hook me up?
I will not be here, so I can't help you. You could buy a ticket.
I've got 2 tickets. Actually, I've got 4.
But I mean, with all the business that you have given Montgomery in, especially since moving back into town where you are a regular, as you like to say, when you walk in there, you order 2 entrees when you go in for dinner.
2 slabs.
1 for night and 1 for midnight.
That's right. That's right.
Up and in 3-1 to Holiday. So what I'm getting at is, with all the business that you have, given in your hard-earned money to Montgomery Inn, I got to believe you have a little bit of pull over there.
I usually get a pretty good seat.
Yeah, but what about a gift certificate? They have those gift cards now. I've seen in Montgomery Inn. I bought those for people, as kind of like a thank you thing or a Christmas gift. Somebody in the neighborhood, whatever it may be.
Yeah, but I'm not giving it away. I'm talking about eating it from my own self.
No, I know that. I know that. But all right. Well, we'll have to look into that for you.
Well, the one thing that I can honestly say is when I've gone to Montgomery Inn, no matter how busy it is or how crazy it is on that day, they've never made me wait. Because they know I'm coming in there crushing. Ain't no doubt about it.
Now, do you think the final weekend of this season, even though there are night games Friday and Saturday, your lovely wife Ashley coming into town?
She'll be here.
Do you think Sunday after the game maybe a sneak in there?
No, because she's probably going to go in there Saturday and get me somewhere I can eat when I get home after the game.
Saturday night. Yeah, but it's not the same as dining in there. I mean, any of their locations. I mean, heck, they're up in Dublin, Ohio now, but they're over in Fort Mitchell. They're downtown here. They're out in Montgomery.
As long as they're Montgomery Inn ribs, I'm okay. But just she can get them and bring them home, and when I get in there, it'll be a midnight rendezvous of massive proportions.
2-1 to Rick Ankiel.
I've spilled ice cream on the bed. I don't know how she's going to do with barbecue sauce. She might not like that. Does that come out?
I don't know. I haven't had much Montgomery in the rack lately.
Well, the ice cream does. I do know that. Because I've spilled that many a times. Like I've fallen asleep with ice cream all over the bed. That stuff melts. That ain't good.
2-2 and Rick Ankiel. 1 on, 1 out, and it's pulled foul. Well, you're going to have to give everybody a scouting report, because I'm sure there are husbands and wives that have debated this topic for years in the greater Cincinnati area. And on Sunday, when you're on the radio, if indeed you do have some Montgomery in after the game in the bed at night, Saturday night, you'll have to let everybody know whether or not that sauce will come out of the sheets.
I don't know if I'll know. Well, maybe I will know by then. Surely they got some kind of spray something to get that stuff out.
3-2 the count on Ankiel. I would certainly imagine there is.
How about one of them Tide sticks? I got one of them in my bag. You just stick it on there and rub it a little bit. That's like a miracle worker right there.
3-2 to Ankiel. A 1-out walk here in the Cardinal fifth to Matt Holliday. And Ankiel waiting. And it's ball 4. Back-to-back walks issued by Owings, trailing 5-0 here in the 5th inning. The inning continues now for Troy Gloss.
The Crew.
The Crew is right. Coming into their final game of the season today. The Crew.
Hey, Lukey. How you doing, buddy? Who's your friend?
That's another Luke.
Hey, Ella.
Sinking liner into right, sliding catch made by Jay Bruce. And there are 2 away in the inning.
He hasn't had any problems sliding or diving for the baseball since he's been back. As a matter of fact, the first night he had a ball that he had to slide for and didn't even phase him to do that. So I don't think he's had any problems at all with the issue with his wrist or anything else.
Ella, you're the prettiest one in this group.
Yeah,
please turn around.
Get up here so you can get on TV, baby.
So our daughter Ella, our son Luke, his friend Luke.
Well, not like our son.
No, that would be real news.
That'd be yours.
All right. Polly and I's children and a friend.
Right.
And you see yourself on TV. Here, look that way.
That's right.
There you go.
There you go.
Looking good today. Got the uni on, number 1. Sisters, number 12. Nice. And that is a fair ball down the right field line. Cardinals will increase their lead by 1 as they hold Ankiel at third. An RBI single by Yadier Molina to go up 6-0.
Look, yeah, I don't know if that works.
But he just likes being able to listen to the game.
I'm going to test one.
Daddy, it's on.
Is it on?
It does work.
Okay, thanks, Luke, for checking that out for us. You know, your favorite player is pitching right now. You know who that is? Who is it?
Micah Owens.
That's right.
There you go.
Very nice. He likes Micah Owings because he can pitch and he can hit. Unfortunately, the Cardinals are doing the hitting right now. Base hit by Brendan Ryan into right center field. 7-0 ball game.
Well, it looks like we've got somebody throwing down in the Reds bullpen. That may be Viola.
Yep, you got it.
That's who it is.
What do you think about him, Cowboy? We may see him in a game a little bit later on, so maybe hold that thought. But
I like how he faces left-handed batters. I'll say that. Because I have yet to see a left-handed batter that had any type of ability come to home plate and stand in there when he fires that fastball. Because he pitches inside to the left-handed hitters, and it's all over him. Look at this.
that one down the right field line by Carpenter. It's going to bring in 2 more. Chris Carpenter has knocked in as many runs today as he has in his entire career coming into this game.
Wow.
A grand slam by Carpenter in the 2nd inning. And now a 2-run double here in the 5th.
Well, I don't think we have to worry about him getting the cycle, because it took him quite some time to run to second base.
So after roughing up the Redbirds the first 2 games of this series, the Reds are getting cuffed around here in the finale. Cardinals lead 9-0. We'll be back in a moment. pot in OHIO up to $105 million. Cowboy, that would buy a lot of Montgomery in.
It would. I could buy my own horses and just carry it around the countryside.
You might be able to build a little Montgomery in your backyard.
Fire them up on the open pit out in the middle of the land of nowhere.
Pedro Viola takes over on the mound. Ryan Hannigan comes in behind the plate. You were starting to say about Viola.
Any and every time I've seen a left-handed batter come to the plate against him, the left-hander has a tremendous amount of difficulty, and Viola on the other side has a tremendous amount of confidence facing left-handed batters. Now, when there's a right-hander at the plate, it's almost as though he's not exactly sure what pitch to make or exactly how to go about facing them. But against left-handers, he really feels good. And as far as having a spot guy out of the bullpen for next year solely to get left-handers out, I think he's as good a job as anybody.
Ground ball to the shortstop, and the inning is over. So one pitch, and Viola takes care of Schumacher. A 4-run fifth for St. Louis, and the Cardinals have a 9-0 lead. Well, after all the drama with the Hall of Famer Marty Brennan in the last couple of nights about getting paid for appearances on Fox Sports Ohio, apparently the apple doesn't fall far from the tree as far as his grandson brought in a sign and says, am I getting paid after a cameo appearance?
Oh, goodness. We're going to start a trend up here. It's going to get ugly.
It's going to get real ugly.
Ella, what you looking at?
He handles it far better, however, than his grandfather.
Yes, he doesn't get all bumped.
No, he doesn't.
Shape.
No, all he wants is just to listen. Doesn't get frustrated. Doesn't get angry. Doesn't yell at anybody.
Ella, do the people look close when you look through that?
Yes, what? Thank you. They say it just like the cowboy does.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you say yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
High ball one to Ryan Hannigan.
We're running out of time to get some runs here, big boy.
We're told that Yadier Molina had to leave the game with tightness in his left quadriceps. Of course, he injured the left knee, the quad area, on Saturday night, which prevented him from starting either of the first two games of this series. And now he has to leave early. They better get him well quickly.
Well, I think part of the reason today that he started was just to see how he would respond. And he was able to go out and at least catch 5 innings. Now that it's 9-0, there's no reason to leave him out there.
We are only in the bottom of the 5th inning. Cardinals got 5 runs in the 2nd, 4 more in the 5th to open up this current 9-0 lead. Hannigan going on strikes to open the bottom of the inning. 5 strikeouts in the game now for Carpenter.
Carpenter still pitching like it's 0-0.
You know, when you look at all the teams going into the playoffs from the National League, probably safe to say the way this regular season has gone, that Carpenter and Wainwright, as there's a liner off Carpenter's glove, ricochets right to the shortstop Brendan Ryan, and that'll be the 2nd out of the inning. The Carpenter and Wainwright from beginning to now have been the best 1-2 punch at the top of the rotation. Now coming on strong after making the trade to acquire Cliff Lee would be Cole Hamels along with Lee.
Well, I think by far Lee has been the leader of that bunch. And I think, well, I was going to say Lincecum and Kane, but they're not even going to be in the picture.
You know, there are times where when you see Aaron Cook and Ubaldo Jimenez, there are times when they would look as good as any front 2 in any rotation in baseball. Although Cook has been injured late in this season, and Jimenez has been really up and down as this season has gone on.
But I think if you look at just experience, talent, postseason, all of those things that go into giving you an edge, Hamels and Cliff Lee, they hold it high in my book. You know, same thing with these guys, with Carpenter and Wainwright.
You know, the Dodger guys, they have Chad Billingsley at the top of the rotation, but after that, even though they have won, you know, the last couple of years, gotten into the playoffs, they're so young and inexperienced in that rotation that may hurt them in October. Carpenter a perfect 5th. We go to the 6th. 9-0 St. Louis.
with you. Time now for our Coors Light Freeze Cam and the story of the day as we look at progressions of Bronson Arroyo's hat from April to May, clear through the season. As Dave Duncan accused Bronson Arroyo of having pine tar on his hat last night, you see the progression through the season, and there you see in the top of his hat, after 6 months of wearing the same hat, the mud that they mud the baseball with builds up. Dave Duncan said that Bronson Arroyo went to his hat after every pitch. Most pitchers do that. It's just a natural mannerism that pitchers do. So Bronson Arroyo, as we heard earlier, he refuted all things. And one of the most interesting things that he said to me is there is going to be some carryovers. There's a ground ball foul. Some carryover next year when he plays the Cardinals. Bronson says he's going to wear a brand new hat, and before the game he's going to send a message to the clubhouse and say, hey, I'm wearing a brand new hat today. So there you go. This one will carry over, I believe.
Well, the statement that Jim Day made is exactly correct. Every pitcher goes to his hat after every pitch. Most pitchers do, to keep your hat straight. Those of us that fall off to the side, as I did a lot, you got to get the thing back the way it's supposed to be. And the funny thing about Arroyo is he doesn't go to the bottom of the hat. He just straightens the top of the hat.
Viola takes care of Rasmus to open up the 6th inning. He's retired the only 2 batters that he has faced. And now change going to be made at shortstop. Adam Rosales will come into the game and take over for Drew Sutton. This will be part of a double switch. So a good job from Viola. 2 batters, 2 retired. We're back in a moment.
Up the ball thing. He proposed a new rule like the NFL. The NFL, each team can mud up or doctor up their footballs. They each use their own footballs per quarterback. He says Major League Baseball should adopt that rule, that the Cardinals mud up the balls like they want, the Reds mud up the balls like they want, and then it's an equal footing. What do you guys think about that?
They have that rule in effect. When you come to a home team ballpark, the home team rubs the balls up. When you go to their park,
no,
they
but he's saying
rub
the point he's making is like in the NFL. In the NFL, the visiting team brings their own football.
Correct.
And so when they have the ball, they have the option of playing with those balls or just using the balls that the other team is providing.
Okay.
And he's suggesting that in this case, the visiting team, the Cardinals, they rub up the baseballs how they see fit. And when their guy's on the mound, those are the baseballs that he would use.
Well, the baseball that we're talking about using in this game, you can put just a little bit too much mud in one certain spot and the ball's going to move a whole lot. You can give yourself an advantage by rubbing up those balls.
Interesting.
So that rule is not going to happen. The balls are supposed to be rubbed up by the umpires.
Bronson did admit, guys, that when he is on the mound, they do not rub up the baseballs with mud as much. He does not like that mud at all. And he was open and said, you know what? They don't put as much mud on the ball when I pitch, and that's just part of home field advantage.
Well, every team has a chance to utilize that. I was talking with Dusty Baker before the game today about everything that happened here last night, and you know, he made the comment that early in the year there were teams coming in here that, along with a number of Reds pitchers, you heard Arroyo allude to it earlier, his ball for the Pools, it, you know, felt like they were putting too much on the baseballs, and then a lot of the dirt, the sand, the clay was getting inside the seams of the baseball. So then when you'd go to grip it, players were talking about, you know, some of that catching in their fingers and not having control. So they backed off on how much they were using for that reason.
So what is it? They rub the balls up inside. It's what is it, an umpire's assistant or whatever that rubs up
Not
the balls?
anymore. They used to be, you know, the umpire's job, as you pointed out, and then they changed that a couple of years ago, where now it's the home team's responsibility to rub up the baseballs. Oftentimes clubhouse attendants will handle that kind of thing.
I was thinking it was the umpire attendant. But it's all the same stuff. You know, I mean, how many times have you seen a guy rub up a ball when he's out there on the mound? A million?
I think the first thing that naturally comes to anybody's mind when you look at a game like last night, you had 5 other pitchers in the game besides John Smoltz. And those 5 pitchers combined to allow a grand total of 1 run in the game, and only gave up a total of 7 hits in the game. And we're talking about 9 innings on the Red side and 4 innings, I beg your pardon, on the Cardinal side. So you had 13 innings worth of pitching where there were only a grand total of 6 hits, and I might add 3 walks in those 13 innings.
I think John has just blown this thing way out of proportion. And he says it out of the 20 years he's been pitching, they're the worst balls he's ever had in his life. Well, you know, this is the first year he's ever been released too. It's tough when you're at the end. Been there, done that. I didn't like anything when it was time. When I couldn't pitch very well, I didn't like anything or anybody. There wasn't a ball I could find that was any good, because none of them would go 90 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm. And for those of you maybe just joining us, we were talking very early on about the story that came out this morning in the St. Louis Dispatch, written by Rick Hummel, where Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan said the reason Arroyo was so effective last night when using the slick balls, according to him and John Smoltz, was because Arroyo had pine tar on his hat, which is illegal. There's a broken bat flare in a shallow center that will fall a base hit. And so in essence, Duncan charged Arroyo with cheating. And again, we bring up, as you look at some of the video last night, Smoltz getting some of those balls that he did not like, throwing them to the side, throwing them out of play. And again, to repeat that the Cardinals had a pitcher less than a handful of years ago, Julian Taveras, who was suspended by Major League Baseball initially for 8 games because he had pine tar on his hat. Nobody had a dirtier hat in the history of Major League Baseball. that I can ever remember than longtime Cardinal left-hander Steve Klein. No one. He'd wear that hat the entire year, sometimes year after year. And you couldn't even tell what the logo was on the hat by the time you got into June, July, and August.
That was his claim to fame.
Right. And clearly Arroyo, although he handled it quite diplomatically, I thought today, clearly he was none too happy.
Well, I wouldn't be happy either if somebody called me a cheater.
Two and one to Troy Gloss with 2 on and 2 men out in the Cardinals' 6th. Breaking ball away. Gloss 1 of 3 in the game, knocked in the first Cardinal run back in that 2nd inning, and he has knocked in at least another run. Up against the wall, rounding 3rd, scoring is Pujols. They're going to hold Ankiel at 3rd. So Gloss swinging the bat pretty well today.
Yes, he is. That's 2 doubles.
2 hits, 2 RBIs. You know, the Cardinals are an interesting team in a lot of ways about what they're going to do when all is said and done at the end of this season. And I am always fascinated by teams that go out and make deals and bring in guys to try and win a World Series. And let's be honest, I mean, flip a coin on who's done a better job at that this year than the Cardinals or the Boston Red Sox. But then it's what you do at the end of the year that always interests me so much, because you know, whether you go out and you win the whole thing this year, and let's use the Cardinals as a prime example. You bring in guys like DeRosa, free agent at the end of the year. You bring in Matt Holliday at the end of the year. And then what you do with them when the season is over. Fans will be screaming to go give Holliday, you know, $100 million over 7 or 8 years. But then when you sign the guy to that contract and something maybe doesn't work out, now you got a guy chewing up huge money on your team and you can't get rid of him, i.e. Alfonso Soriano. Although they didn't trade for him, that was a straight free agent signee. But in essence, that's what Holliday is at the end of the year. He's a free agent.
I don't know that the Cardinals would do that with Holliday. I don't know that they're going to be the chaser in that thing. They may be a player in it, but I don't know that they'll ultimately be the one that comes away with Holliday.
Breaking ball away, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cardinals had a good team this year without Holliday and DeRosa and Lugo. They had a good team.
Those guys just put them over the top.
This has made them a really good team.
And the fact that Carpenter came back and Wainwright really kicked it into high gear.
And Pinheiro.
And Franklin down there in the bullpen saved him, literally.
But the ownership group of the Cardinals, led by Cincinnati, and I might add Bill DeWitt, who has made his home here for many, 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 many years, still does. It's taken a lot of flack from the fan base, feeling like the Cardinals have not spent the kind of money that they've earned by selling out pretty much every night for the better part of 5 years. There's a brace hit to bring in 2 more runs. Boy, this has turned very, very ugly today. It is 12-0. Brendan Ryan, a two-hopper down to Roland, and mercifully the end comes to an end. 5 in the second, 4 in the fifth, 3 more in the sixth. 12-0 Redbirds in front. Look at this. Shameful. See. Station East Coast subs located near the Reds fan zone over on the first base concourse behind section 514 on the view level. Great Philly cheesesteak subs, fresh cut fries. Get your tickets for the Reds final weekend of the year. 381 Reds, or go to Reds.com and enjoy Penn Station East Coast subs right here at the ballpark. Julio Lugo takes over at second base. And the day is over for Chris Carpenter. His final start until the postseason begins.
Blake Hawksworth is on the mound, a right-handed pitcher. Got wins in 3 of his last 7 outings.
You know, Cowboy, I got to thinking about my dad, and I said a minute ago about the way he's teaching his grandkids. And I mean, now he's got this, he stuck this on Luke, am I getting paid, that sign. You know, the more I think about it, that's capitalism at work, right?
It is capitalism.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing something, a job, you should be paid for the time to do it, right?
Right.
Yeah, Papa Marty. Yeah, I know all about Papa Marty. Believe me, I've known him a lot longer than you have.
I think what I'll do, Tom, is when I'm working with him these last 3 days is I'll try to have as much of a conversation as I possibly can with him and see if we can't, you know, between the radio and the fact that we're doing TV and he was on TV in my stead,
right,
that we can't come to some semblance of an agreement to make everybody happy. You know, because getting paid can come in a lot of different ways. It doesn't always have to be cash.
That's right.
You know,
that's exactly right.
I mean, what we're really talking about here is some semblance of compensation for taking over for me for that. What was it, 1 minute and 25 seconds that he was on air?
Oh no, he was on for a while. He was on for a full inning, and it was a tired inning. I got to believe he's going to come over and bother George and Chris a little bit, because George carries a lot more weight with Fox Sports Ohio than you do or than I do. I mean, he's been around here 17 years, right?
Yeah, George.
Yeah, George is like the godfather of the operation.
So you think he'll come in and tell George that he expects to get paid?
Well, I think he feels like he has a chance to make some inroads with George. He knows that really I have no pull. I'm not sure what kind of pull you have, but what we do know, all right, well, what we do know is it is minimal compared to George Grant. right?
Well, then that may be the thing to do, is just try to soften it up so that, you know, you can put the two elder statesmen to work and let them go at it.
Well, we'll find out what happens. I'm going to be gone over the weekend, so keep me up to date, okay? Can you give me a call or something?
I'll try to Twitter you.
All right. Twitter me. Taking inside 3-2 to Kevin Barker. Well, I got to log on to some place to find out what's happening.
No, I'll shoot it right to you.
All right.
Yeah.
3-2 to Barker. Hawksworth working out of the stretch. And it's in the air and fouled out of play off to the third base side. Don't forget your hat here, big boy.
He sent your boy down here with a sign that said, "Am I getting paid?" That's rough right there.
3-2 to Kevin Barker. And again fouled out of play off to the third base side. Are you starting not to like that now?
No, I mean, I understand the compensation part. I just think that you know, that's between Marty and the TV, you know.
And dragging Luke into it, you're just not comfortable.
I'm a, you know, Luke is not even near the age of where you go minimum wage or working age or anything. But I think your dad and I will talk about it. We have a great relationship, and I think we understand each other very well. And you know, we'll find some semblance of compensation that I think everybody will be agreeable.
All right. Well, that would be good. He definitely needs some help. I mean, he has caused quite a spectacle up in this booth.
Well, it would have never happened
over the last 2 nights.
It would have never happened had I not had the flu.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But, you know, our producer came up with the idea, Christian Roberts. So really, ultimately, he is the one responsible in this entire operation. Inviting him to come over, promising something. I'm not sure what. I wasn't there. And now it's escalated just to something really at another level. Liner down to third, and Phillips retired for the third time in the game.
Speaking of getting paid. All right, Reds fans, for a great tasting meal and unbeatable value, pick up delicious JTM Philly kits, burgers, or delicious hoagies at your favorite grocer. JTM, food, family, and fun.
All right, it's my last game of the year with you. You got to say it right. Could you please say it correctly the way you always say it?
What, barbecue? Barbecue.
Thank you.
There you go.
Very nice.
I knew you'd be digging it.
Here's young Juan Francisco. Boy, how impressive has this guy been? Already a home run and 6 runs batted in. There's a high bouncer down to third. Loss, able to throw him out. And Barker on to second, 2 away in the inning.
After watching him in his couple of games starting when there was no pitcher on earth that could get him out. It's like, geez, they need to send this guy to instructional ball and teach him how to play in the outfield.
You know, Jeff, those are the kinds of things that, having had the opportunity to broadcast now Major League Baseball the better part of 22 seasons, I always wonder why teams are not more proactive in that regard with young players. You know, now you look at the situation, for example. The Reds brought in Scott Rowland for a reason. They know that he'll be under contract next year. They've already hinted at hoping to have him years beyond next year, if that is indeed the case. And Juan Francisco is a young third baseman. And Francisco has not proven he can do it at the big league level. Rowland clearly has.
Right.
Now, Francisco was not called up to the AAA level until about, well, less than a month ago.
Right.
So he wasn't there very long. Next year, obviously, he will begin the season at Louisville and more than likely be there the entire year, depending on how the season goes for him or for Rolen or anybody else. We'll get back to this topic in a minute. There's a bouncing ball to second. Lugo throws out Bruce. And we go to the 7th. All Cardinals today leading 12-0. Inning. The big blow, the first career home run by Chris Carpenter, and he hit the lottery on it. A grand slam. Carpenter, who had 6 RBIs his entire major league career until today, has knocked in 6 runs. He had a 2-run double and a 4-run 5th, and on the mound, clearly less than his best stuff, but good enough to get through 5 innings of 3-hit shutout baseball. Carpenter, the story in this one today. Well, we get a look at Chris Dickerson, who's come in the game to play left field here in the 7th inning. Juan Francisco remains in the game to play third. Kevin Barker remains in to play first. And still Carlos Fisher on the mound. I know you are very excited about Chris Dickerson coming back to 2010.
I think he can play. He showed me some major adjustments from really being down starting the season after the job was almost handed to him in left field, and he really had a difficult time, and he made some adjustments in a very short period of time after the job was taken away from him and he was having to do it in pinch hit fashion. And instead of dropping his head and just sulking about not getting to play and not getting things going his way, he built himself back up emotionally and physically and mentally. He learned to swing inside and out, and he pumped his numbers back up from 198 and ended up where they are now. And he earned his spot back, and he earned a place to be back in there. Had he not been hurt, he would be playing center field right now, but he got hurt.
Julio Lugo drawing a leadoff walk by Fisher. Fisher walked the first batter he faced when he came in, and it led to 3 runs in the Cardinals' 6th. I want to get back to this thing we were starting to talk about, and I only bring it up because you look at what many people consider to be the 2 best position player prospects for the Reds at the higher levels of their minor league system. There's a rocket in the center field, a base hit by Schumacher. Francisco being one, Todd Frazier being the other. Now Frazier came up as shortstop, has played second, has played third, went to the outfield for a while, And the Reds settled in for the rest of this year, about a third of the way through the year, that Frazier would play second base every day.
Right.
Now, he has at least proven that he can play some other places.
Correct.
But when you look at Francisco and knowing what you have there in Roland, I've always wondered why teams don't go to spring training. Maybe not winter ball, maybe not instructional league, because some of these guys have had a long year. I mean, a really long year.
Right.
They need some rest. But when you get to spring training, I've never understood why you wouldn't ask Francisco, and maybe they will. I'm not saying they won't. Another guy would be Joey Votto, as an example. And again, I'm not the general manager. Here's a fly ball down the left field line. That'll fall in a hit. And the bases are loaded. But if you believe that Yonder Alonso is a guy who really can't play anywhere else except for first, and you think there's a chance you might see him within, say, the middle of next season, wouldn't you ask Francisco to play or take some fly balls maybe in left, Votto to take some fly balls maybe in an outfield position, just so they're at least not starting from complete scratch if you decided to go in that direction?
Well, I think that part of that with, well, I guess we can do one at a time. The issue with Francisco is he did have a couple of games in the outfield in AAA. But
that's when Roland was down there rehab.
Right. But before you even get a chance to even do that, he was here in the big leagues. And I think part of that was because of his ability with the baseball, swinging the baseball bat. Now, the issue with Joey Votto, all that he's been through this year, I just don't think right now is the time to be talking about any kind of change whatsoever with Joey. I think he needs to get his feet back on the ground and get back to just playing baseball.
I was using that more of just a theoretical question. Right. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more on that part of it, but I'm just saying that if you believe your team, and look, this has been talked about before. This isn't like all of a sudden we're talking about something on the air that hasn't been discussed. Dusty's been asked about this. Walt's been asked about this, probably ad nauseum to their liking.
But I think a lot of this is according to the grand plan and where these guys want to go. And when I say these guys, I'm talking about Mr. Castellini, I'm talking about Phil, I'm talking about Walt Jocketty, the general manager, and all of those folks that advise him. I'm talking about the grand plan as to where they want to be a year from now. And that may not mean that Francisco goes into left field. That may mean he plays third base and is part of a trade with a Dickerson and maybe somebody else. We don't know that part. That's the part that we don't know, because there's so many trades that are out there. People hunting for hitting, hunting for left-handed bats, and Lord knows we got plenty of left-handed hitting.
Now, it should be noted that Votto, and many of you will remember, he has played the outfield at the AAA level. Well, let's start there. So, I mean, it wouldn't be something completely foreign to Joey Votto.
He played in the World Baseball Classic and did good with just a flip of the coin. Hey, you're in left field.
And Francisco, the Reds have already talked about, getting him into instructional league as that pitch is strike three, called on the outside corner to David Freese. So there are two away in the inning. The Reds are going to send him out there to instructional league once this season is over, and getting more accustomed, and more accurately put, to seeing more time as a left fielder.
Right.
So they're thinking that way. And again, I'm not talking specifically about these guys. I'm saying it as far as baseball is concerned in general. A lot of teams will not do that kind of thing. And it should be noted again, the Reds don't have any intention of doing that with Votto right now.
Right.
They do have plans for Francisco.
I think in the long range plan of any organization, if you are just experimenting or just trying some things, You don't do it with your established players. You only do it with a guy that you're saying to yourself, okay, this is something that we definitely would like to do, as the Mets did with Mike Piazza when they moved him to first base. It was something that they were sold on. They were going to do it as long as he could handle it.
That ball in the air to right field, and Bruce with room. Good job by Fisher. After they loaded the bases, he retires 3 in a row. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, presented by Cincinnati Bell. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer in the Ford F-150 2009 Motor Trend Truck of the Year. By Aflac, we've got you under our wing. By your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers, visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com for current offers. And by McDonald's of Greater Cincinnati. Welcome back to Great American Ballpark on a cool Thursday afternoon. Changes galore for St. Louis with a 12-0 lead. Tyler Green takes over at shortstop. David Freese is the first baseman. And Jason Mott, the rookie right-hander, takes over on the mound. On opening day, Mott came in as the Cardinal closer. He blew the save in that opening day game. Tony La Russa and Dave Duncan came out later and said, you know, maybe we were biting off a little more than we could chew for this young man, who is a converted position player into a pitcher. And by and large has had a pretty good rookie year.
Well, there's no doubt in watching him throw the baseball that he's attractive from that end, from the closer's end, because he has that mentality. But the part of Jason Mott right now is being able to handle that adrenaline animal, because when that phone rings and that heartbeat starts shooting through the roof, you got to be able to handle it, or you're going to start throwing balls halfway up the backstop. And when he's been in trouble, that's been his problem. Wildness.
I think Dickerson found a crack in that bat on that foul ball a moment ago.
Feels funny watching him walk up to the plate. It's been so long.
Certainly a learning year for Dickerson.
He made some great strides, I'll say that.
On the ground of the shortstop, he may have broken another bat. He's thrown out by Green, 1 away. When you think about all the decisions that general managers have to make, you know, along with all their people around them. I mean, we're talking about some of these position situations in Francisco and trying him in the outfield, and you know, Todd Frazier settles in at second base, and you know he's capable of playing some other places, but you know, you wonder about him during the offseason. Well, he played second base the rest of the way, but I don't think the Reds second baseman is going anywhere, so they're going to have to say, okay, do we want to try him somewhere else to begin next year at the AAA level?
Well, they know all these guys can hit. That's the big key issue. And in order to get to the big leagues to start with, you got to hit, or you're not going to make it. And I think everyone knows. You look at Chris Valaika, he can hit.
Had a bad year this year, but they're expecting better things.
But he can hit. I mean, right. he's the minor league player of the year for the Reds last year.
Right.
The guy can hit. You look at Juan Francisco, hit. You look at Yonder Alonso, he can hit. So can Frazier. But the issue is, can you find a place to play them where they can be successful defensively at this level? And that's where the problem is. And a lot of those guys may have come up as a college shortstop or a college third baseman, but yet in the big leagues, you make 10 or 12 errors, and your hitting's going to suffer because of your fielding.
Good effort there by Gloss, but that is an infield hit by Rosales.
The pressure up here to perform at an excellent pace is, I mean, it's infinity. I mean, it is so difficult to do this on an everyday basis, and then when you do it on an everyday basis, then you get in trouble.
Ball 1 to Ryan Hannigan.
But I will say this: I've been in organizations where you look down into AAA and AA and even down into A ball, and you think, well, where's our prospect?
You took the words right out of my mouth. It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a great problem to have.
Right.
But I mean, I can remember looking back, and the player of the year was like an A-ball guy that was in a low A.
Fly ball off the bat of Hannigan into left center field. Schumacher is out there now, and he makes a play. 2 gone in the inning.
When you're looking at a guy that's your player of the year, and he's like 4 years away. We haven't even mentioned the name Chris Heising, and he had a great year this year, and he didn't even get called up because there's so many outfielders here. He wouldn't even have gotten to play.
It is very exciting to think about some of the players that have a chance to be here and that will be here within the next year.
I think there's no doubt about it, and I think it's also exciting to know that you don't have to go out and spend $9 trillion to go get somebody, because you have in-house the trading material from a minor league standpoint, not A-ball players. I'm talking about guys that are ready to step into the big leagues and play, that you can trade and go get a player that may help you in one way, fashion, or form.
See, but there is a constant dilemma for a mid-market to small market franchise, and one which You know, it all depends on what, side of the fence you come down on. I mean, the adage has been made and the argument has been made by people a lot smarter than me is, would you rather be good for 8 or 9 years? I mean, good and competitive, or win it one time and sacrifice the next 10 years? We'll talk about that in a moment. All access pass to UC football with Coach Brian Kelly. Break down the highlights from the Fresno State game and get ready for the victory bell on Bearcat Sports Weekly with Coach Brian Kelly, presented by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Changes for the Reds. Darnell McDonald takes over in left field. I beg your pardon, Darnell McDonald is in center field. And now on the mound is right-hander Ramon Ramirez.
My scorebook's taking a beat.
Oh, you're not lying. Looks like spring training, doesn't it?
It does.
Two innings for Carlos Fisher. He allows 5 hits and 3 runs. Cardinals lead 12-0 as they bat in the 8th inning. Fisher walked 2 and struck out 2. The only Reds pitcher that has not given up a run is Pedro Viola. He faced 2 batters, got a ground out and a strikeout. But I want to get back to this thing of the small market to mid-market team.
Right.
Payroll obviously becomes a huge factor.
Instead of buying players, you end up trading players.
And then you get to a point in time with certain guys and you say, okay, are they really worth giving that kind of contract to? By giving a guy a contract, how does that affect the rest of our payroll?
Exactly.
Much has been made about the Reds next year and their obligation to really about a handful of players that are going to chew up somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2/3 of their team payroll, if not more than that.
5 guys.
So
pitchers.
You like the core players that they have.
Yes.
And now you say, okay, we're moving forward. And I asked you the question, with all these bright young players and these talented young players, and again, I always add, they haven't done it yet at the major league level. Right. I've heard some argue, and I remember getting into a debate about this with Paul Daugherty, the outstanding columnist for the Inquirer, when he wrote, how about just win a World Series and then let's forget about the next 10 years? Well, hey, look, I'd love to win a World Series.
You can't do that, though.
But
you can't forget about the next 10 years.
I would rather have a team that was in the hunt for a divisional championship. Sure, if you ran into that lightning in a bottle year where you won the whole thing. But I'd rather be competitive every year. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, you want to be competitive every year. And the only way that this market will be able to do that is to continue to develop guys like Frazier, Valleca, Francisco, Dickerson, those kinds of guys that you continue to bring up from that you draft like Alonso and you bring them right through your system. And it can't just be one guy now. It's got to be that draft. And you continue to move them. And as you move them through, let's say we've got an Alonso that is coming to a spot that maybe is going to fill a place in left field or at first base or something like that. Well, he may not be able to take Joey Votto's place. Can he play somewhere else? Well, let's say he can play left field. Who do we have in left field? Well, we don't really have an everyday left fielder. Could it be Francisco? Maybe. Who do you decide at that point that one of those guys you're going to trade? It's either going to be Francisco or Alonso, because you've decided one of those guys is going to play left field. So you trade one of them plays left field, and then you go back to that system and you continue that same circle. That's the only way that you can continue to build yourself from the inside up. Because if you don't, you end up trading 5 guys for one. Then you pay that one guy $9 trillion. You lose all of your minor league system, and then you're in a boat that's got a big hole in it, and you're going to sink.
One away in the inning, and here is Tyler Green. He fouls it out of play. Strike one. Well, it certainly is so much better than the Reds have had for the better part of a decade as far as being excited about their young players, having the young players that they can figure out, where they're going to go. They have some time to figure out where they're going to play.
That's exactly
not only
right.
what level, but what position in some cases.
And they're talented. When you say, okay, I've got Francisco that could play third, first, he could play left field. Same thing with the first round pick Yonder Alonso. That's why you see a guy like Frazier moved all over the place, because the guy can flat out hit. He came up as a shortstop. So if you can play shortstop, the theory is you can play anywhere. You're that good of an athlete. If you can play shortstop, I can teach you how to play anywhere else. So that's why they move him so much. Because you never know when a player will go down in the middle of the year and you're in a championship season and Brandon Phillips breaks his leg. What are you going to do? Throw in the towel?
Well, that's why I brought up earlier. I think that baseball, by and large, has missed the boat on a lot of those kinds of situations. There's a base hit into center field. I go no further than even earlier this year. You can make the argument. When Votto goes down, the Reds knew Ramon Hernandez could play first base, and he played it beautifully. They had nobody that could hit left-handed to play first base.
Right.
Now, during spring training, next time around, do you make sure that a guy like Lance Nix, Chris Dickerson, pick somebody else on the team?
If that happens,
do you make sure they can play? Juan Francisco, if he's going to start the year at AAA for you as a third baseman or a left fielder.
There you go.
Do you make sure in spring training he knows how to play a little bit of first base?
Yes, you do. And see, next year you're going to start to see the fruition of what all of this work has been trying to be done down there. Votto gets hurt or Votto goes down, you got to plug in somewhere. We haven't had that in years past. We haven't had that in forever. And those are good things, to know that you have at least got a guy that you can plug into a spot for 2 or 3 months. Now, he may not be able to play the whole season there, because by the time he comes back around for the second time, everybody and their brother is going to know where his holes are and where you can pitch him. But he can fill in for a certain amount of time and help you. And hopefully by that time, your regular first baseman or your shortstop or outfielder or whoever it is that you filled in for is ready to come back and play.
3-1 account on Julio Lugo. This game in the top of the 8th inning. And a high pop up behind the plate.
Silo.
Hannigan will give it a look. Second row out of play.
I think if you look over at the Mets and you look at what they've done, buying all the players that they bought, you look down into their system and they don't have anybody to bring to them.
Nobody.
I mean, they're pulling guys from nowhere.
Yeah, that's why heads have been rolling this summer there in New York, unfortunately, for people losing their jobs.
And the sad part about that, Tom, is not only do they not have it now, they're not going to have it next year either. If the guys in the big leagues can't get it done, that's a ship that you better start swimming, because it's going down. It's going to sink.
But again, with all due respect, that ship would have a hole in it. But when you have a $170 million payroll,
you can patch.
You can patch that thing up.
You can patch.
There's a nice pickup by Francisco, and he throws out Lugo to win the inning. Nicely done. Reds bat in the bottom of the 8th, still trailing 12-0. Take a look at our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. You just saw it a moment ago. It's a nice pickup here by Mr. Francisco.
The lunge, sets his feet, and fires a bullet across the infield. The key here is he doesn't just try to spin around on a pirouette. He sets his feet and makes the throw.
Darnell McDonald grounds out to the shortstop to begin the 8th inning.
Kyle McClellan is the new pitcher on the mound. 1 pitch, 1 out. And you see how Francisco sets his feet there, and that's what allows him to make the good throw, and he doesn't allow his momentum to carry him on out into the outfield.
You know, Cowboy, I mentioned earlier that for me personally, this will be my last game of the season today on television or radio. George will be back with Chris over the next 3 games here on Fox Sports Ohio, and you'll be back over with my dad the final 3 games on the Reds radio network. And you know, you'd love to tell every single person by name and mention their name on the air. Thank you for everything that's happened over the course of the year. I mean, really no different than the players. You know, the whole baseball world is such a world where, whether it's the ushers, the security people around the ballpark, the electricians in the ballpark, our camera crew, the men and women that work in those jobs, those in the truck. I mean, you get to know a group of people for, you know, a summer and a half. And good Lord willing, you all come back the next year and have a chance to work together and see one another and renew those friendships. Some you see in the winter, many you don't. But certainly you get to an end of a baseball season, and there's always that melancholy kind of a feeling that you know, this person and that person that you've become so used to seeing almost on a daily basis, certainly on a weekly basis. And then all of a sudden you don't know when you're going to see them again.
Exactly.
So for so many on our crew who have done an unbelievable job, and we'll talk more about this in a minute, going to miss everybody during this offseason. To offer you a great value for this final weekend. Check-in session stands throughout the ballpark for the Kroger meal deal. You get a full-size adult hot dog, a 16-ounce Coke, a bag of chips, and during this final homestand, a bag of M&M's premium candies, all for just $7. Great deal. The Kroger meal deal. Paul Giannis checks in the game to play shortstop. Adam Rosales moving over to second base.
And Daniel Ray
Herrera takes over on the mound to begin the 9th inning. What a year he's had.
Oh man, he has pitched in like 100 games. Let's see here. 69 ball games for the little left-hander.
Khalil Green, who, although the situations are very different, he went through a lot of the same stress-related issues that Joey Votto went through this season. Began the year as the Cardinals' regular shortstop and really has not played much since the beginning of the year.
And you hate it for the kid because he is, well, for both of them for that matter. I mean, they're both as classy as they come.
Breaking ball low and in. 2-1 to Khalil Green. But Cowboy, I'd just like to continue that thought for a moment and thank everybody. You know, beginning at Fox Sports Ohio. You know, Henry Ford, the general manager, and you go right down the line, Tom Farmer, Doug Johnson, all the people that work in the office and their kindness and giving us all the chance to do this job on a daily basis. I mean, we work with our producer, Christian Roberts, Roy Alfers, our director, Brian Hunterman's here a lot. Matt Sigafus travels with us all year long.
They've all been good to us.
They've been unbelievable. It's just a great crew, and up here, you know, you mentioned earlier the folks that work on the crew day in and day out. All the people from the Reds organization, and you know, whether it be,
if you don't work together, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And everybody has made it to work together. Sometimes those have been tough days, but most of the time they've been great days.
Everybody from Bob Castellini to Phil Castellini to the Williams to Rob Butcher and his staff and Charlie Frank and his staff and everybody around the ballpark. Boy, I tell you one thing is for sure. I've had a chance to work for 3 different organizations in Major League Baseball and loved every one of them as Green is gone. But I'll tell you right now, the way the Reds organization is going, this is one top flight organization as far as the people that are working for this franchise day in and day out.
Well, it's a great thing. I mean, it's obvious that everything is headed in the right direction. And yeah, there are always some bumps in the road and bruises and egos turned one way or the other. But you know what? If everybody's pulling on the same end of the rope, we're all going in the right place. And that's what you want.
Thank all the players and their cooperation this season. Manager Dusty Baker, his coaching staff, training staff. I know Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro certainly appreciate all the cooperation they've gotten from those guys down there this year. It's been a good year. Not a winning year, not a championship year. And first and foremost, we thank all the fans for having us as a part of their lives, however frequently or infrequently that may be, allowing us to come into their homes on the television side and their homes on the radio side or in their cars or whatever the case may be.
Well, we wouldn't be here without them.
There's no doubt about that. Nobody cares about a baseball game if it's not for the fans. Nobody. There's ball 4 down low to Colby Rasmus. Played by Barker down at first, and there are 2 away in the inning with Rasmus advancing on to second base.
This is the time of the year where, yeah, it's time to go home, and then 3 or 4 weeks from now, you start looking at your calendar and at your watch, and you think, when's spring training coming?
Is that when you start looking at it?
I'm telling you, it's amazing. Never fails. Start looking at Halloween. All right, now. It's time we got spring training right around the corner.
Got a feeling it's going to be a fun fall and a fun winter around here in Cincinnati this year as far as the local teams and sports are concerned. Bengals off to a good start.
Heck, the high school football is already causing so much commotion. It's crazy.
There's a base hit into center field, and that'll bring in another Cardinal run. It is 13-0. A base hit by David Freese. You have the high school football. You got the University of Cincinnati football ranked in the top 10. Ohio State up the road in the top 10. College basketball. I don't think there's any debate about it. UC has a chance to be real good, and so too does Xavier. It'll be a fun year.
There's a lot of people talking about UC. I mean, a lot of people.
How about our buddy Bob Trumpy today? Talking about Brian Kelly.
It's cracking me up.
Into foul ground, and that ball is out of play. One and 2 to Ankiel.
Who would have ever thought that Daniel Ray Herrera would have been able to do the job that he's done this year?
Well, I'm glad there were some of them that thought that make the decision, because I remember hearing all that noise. And Cowboy, I know you were right there with me, because we used to talk about this 2 or 3 days a week in spring training. When you'd hear some people say, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, well, you know, we like him, but we're worried about You know, you see him one time and he can fool you, but boy, if you got to see him a second or a third or a fourth time, I'm just not sure he has the stuff to be able to do it.
He does.
He does. That'll end the inning. Cardinals do get a run. And as the Reds come to bat in the last of the ninth, the Reds trail 13-0. Refinance your home with a U.S. Bank home equity loan. Subject to normal credit approval. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Well, don't forget, you still have a chance to see the amazing Crosley Field exhibit and more at the Reds Hall of Fame for only $1.50. Now through Sunday, take advantage of his special offer. All you need is a game day ticket. Visit Reds.com/HOF to find out more about what's going on at the Reds Hall of Fame and Museum. We'll just tell you about the changes for the Cardinals. Starting on the mound, left-hander Trevor Miller. You'll see him a lot in the playoffs. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, that'll be the one thing that La Russa for sure will be doing, and that is exchanging lefties for righties and righties for lefties, depending on the batters coming to play. I really don't know that I've seen a whole lot of weakness from Francisco, whether it's lefty or right. I mean, he seems to be able to hang in there, hit whatever, whenever.
Quickly behind 0-2. They'll be followed by Jay Bruce and then Chris Dickerson. 3 straight left-handed hitters for Trevor Miller. Reds and the Pirates over the weekend. Tickets are available. Come on down and enjoy the final 3 days of this 2009 baseball season. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, and then Sunday afternoon on Fan Appreciation Day. Ooh, Francisco hit with a fastball.
Three breaking balls away, and then he comes in a little too far on that setup pitch.
know, you look at the Cardinal team and looking ahead of the postseason, and so much has been made about the problems and documented problems of Brad Lidge with the Philadelphia Phillies. That ball scalded by Bruce, but caught in right field by Ankiel, one away in the ninth. You know, Ryan Franklin, a first-year closer for Tony La Russa, so no postseason experience for him in that role. The rest of the bullpen, I mean, there are legitimate questions about getting from their starter to their closer.
About with the Cardinals.
With the Cardinals bullpen.
Yeah,
and not many people have brought it up. I mean, Dennis Reyes has been around for a while. He's had a nice career. Trevor Miller's been around for a while, had a nice career. Those are the only two left-handers you will see come out of their bullpen in the playoffs. But as far as right-handers are concerned, you know, does John Smoltz maybe move down there for the postseason? You have Kyle McClellan, 25 years old, young guy. He hadn't been in this position. Mott has not in this position.
And that's the place that would be the most importance for me if I'm the manager, is having John Smoltz solidify my bullpen just from his presence down there. All the bullpen guys talk. You talk about situations. You talk about where you're going to pitch, who you're going to pitch to, why you do this in this situation versus this and that situation. And everything changes from batter to batter and from what the score is or how many outs you got. And with a veteran guy like Smoltz, that can only help.
Dickerson gone on strikes, and the Reds are down to their final out.
Plus, I think if you have Smoltz down in the bullpen, you're going to get a little more crisp fastball and a little more bite on that breaking ball from Smoltz, knowing that he's only got to pitch one inning, maybe two at the most. You don't have to hold back anything.
Base hit left field by Adam Rosales will keep the inning alive for Ryan Hannigan.
It's his second hit today.
What an odd year it's been for Rosales.
Oh.
I mean, you talk about that old roller coaster ride, boy.
He's been on it. 400, 210, 400, 210, 400. But the one thing about Rosales that has been stable is his effort and his hustle. And you can't take that away from him at any time, any way, any fashion, any form. He comes to beat you.
And you know, whether or not Adam Rosales ever becomes a regular major league player, a star player, I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball. But if there's ever a guy you would use as an example who can make an impact and be remembered in perhaps a very short amount of time just by the way he plays, you can learn a lot from Adam Rosales.
Oh, yeah.
Ground ball to second, and that'll do it. So the Cardinals win the final game of this series. Carpenter, Hawksworth, Mott, McClellan, Miller combining on a 5-hit shutout in a 13-0 final score.